Welcome back to Models and Agents, episode 117 for July 20th, 2026, your daily AI briefing. Monday in the AI world, which means a weekend's worth of announcements to catch up on. Let's go. Kimi K3 lands as the largest open-weight model yet at 2.8 trillion parameters, forcing builders to test whether memory-centric scaling beats raw compute for real workloads. Moonshot AI released Kimi K3 on July 16th. The model carries 2.8 trillion parameters and stands as the first entry in the 3 trillion class. It prioritizes memory scaling over raw compute density. Remember, we covered the open-weight performance gap yesterday. This release supplies a concrete high-parameter baseline for direct comparison on long context and memory-intensive workloads. Builders can now download the weights and run experiments at this scale without proprietary APIs. Early independent benchmarks on agentic tasks and serving costs are expected within the next 2 weeks. Public health departments in 10 U.S. jurisdictions will trial generative AI tools from OpenAI and Anthropic under the Coalition for Health AI and Accenture's Pulse program. The initiative focuses on real-world use cases in state, local, tribal, and territorial settings. Health tech teams should monitor early results for regulatory and deployment patterns that may influence other verticals. The program pairs the models with the Coalition for Health AI framework to produce measurable outcomes across the participating sites. This development advances the safety and policy track by moving evaluation work from lab settings into live public health environments. Alibaba announced a new model it positions immediately behind Anthropic's Fable 5. The claim arrives alongside ongoing frontier model comparisons and gives practitioners another closed model reference point for capability tracking. Teams working on high-stakes reasoning tasks should test it against current Claude and GPT variants this week to map relative strengths on domain-specific benchmarks. The positioning highlights continued competition at the top of closed model leaderboards without releasing weights or detailed architecture notes. Builders tracking the closed frontier should add this to their evaluation matrix alongside existing GPT and Claude releases. The Chinese Academy of Sciences released an upgraded Science 1 Omni model focused on scientific workloads. The update targets researchers needing stronger performance on technical and multimodal scientific tasks. Labs running domain-specific fine-tunes should evaluate it against existing open scientific models for chemistry, physics, and biology pipelines. The upgrade builds on prior versions with expanded multimodal support for scientific data types. Domain teams in research settings gain a new baseline for specialized scientific inference without relying solely on general-purpose models. Simon Willison notes that ChatGPT Mobile's work feature operates like code interpreter, with most safeties disabled and runs entirely in the cloud. On desktop, the same feature is a reskinned codex that executes locally. Developers building agentic workflows should test mobile work for tasks where reduced guardrails matter, while keeping desktop codecs for on-device constraints. The mobile version therefore opens different failure modes and output behaviors than the desktop implementation. Teams should compare outputs from both surfaces on the same prompts to understand where the cloud execution changes results. A new breakdown outlines 6 distinct agent architectures and their trade-offs. The guide helps teams choose between reactive, planning, hierarchical, and other patterns based on task horizon and tool requirements. Builders evaluating frameworks should map their current stack against these 6 to identify gaps in long horizon reliability. The architectures cover varying degrees of autonomy, memory use, and planning depth. Practitioners gain a concrete decision framework rather than choosing frameworks by marketing claims alone. The piece argues that production agents need fine-grained access controls instead of credential sharing. This directly addresses the ongoing agent security gap where shared secrets create blast radius problems. Teams deploying autonomous agents should audit credential usage and shift to scoped access tokens this week. The recommendation aligns with the tracked agents and tool use arc by emphasizing reliability improvements through better access design. production deployments that still rely on shared credentials now have a clear migration path to reduce incident scope. Source: Google News. Josh Blythe released Bordair, a two-stage detector combining a 430 pattern regex gate with a quantized Diberta V3 large ONNX model. The system includes 13,230 real bypass attempts collected from a public red team game, plus multimodal handling for images, documents, and audio. Developers running LLM inputs should integrate the regex layer first for sub-millisecond filtering before falling back to the transformer on ambiguous cases. The dataset combines over 500,000 synthetic samples with the real attack split, and the full code, weights, and data are available on GitHub and Hugging Face. Teams gain a practical, low-cost first line of defense that only invokes the heavier model when needed. Code, weights, and dataset. China's leadership launched YECO while publicly backing open-source model development. The announcement signals continued policy support for accessible weights and tooling inside the country. Teams tracking global open-source momentum should watch resulting domestic model releases and licensing terms. The policy move reinforces the open weight track by aligning national direction with community-accessible models. Observers can expect follow-on releases from Chinese labs that build on this stated preference for open weights. Okay, let's pop the hood on the Bordair detector. Everyone treats prompt injection defense as a single model problem, yet the engineering split between a fast regex gate and a heavier transformer is what keeps the system usable at scale. The regex layer handles the obvious majority of traffic in under a millisecond and drops straight to a decision. Only the ambiguous remainder reaches the 244 megabyte quantized Diberta-V3-large, keeping the transformer off the hot path for routine queries. This design trades a small amount of recall for massive cost reduction. The inclusion of real attack data from the red team game tightens the decision boundary on motivated human attempts that templated synthetic data misses. Teams that skip the gate and run the transformer on every request quickly hit latency and budget walls. Use this pattern in any production pipeline that ingests untrusted text, images, or documents and already pays per token inference costs. The gotcha that bites most teams is forgetting to update the regex patterns as new obfuscation tricks appear in the wild. Download and run Kimi K3 weights to benchmark memory-heavy agent tasks against your current open models and measure serving cost at 2.8 trillion scale. Integrate the Bordair regex gate into any LLM input pipeline handling untrusted text or documents for immediate low-latency filtering before the transformer stage. Test ChatGPT Mobile. Work on a task you normally run through local codecs to see where the reduced safeguards change output behavior. Map your current agent stack against the 6 architectures outlined in the guide and identify which pattern your longest running workflows actually need. Audit agent credential usage in production and replace shared secrets with scoped access grants following the Tech Radar recommendations. Early independent benchmarks on Kimi K3 for agentic and long context tasks are expected within 2 weeks. Additional Pulse program results from the 10 participating U.S. jurisdictions are due later this quarter. Further details on YECO implementation and resulting open source releases from Chinese labs. Continued analysis of the Hugging Face autonomous agent breach and resulting agent security tooling. Tomorrow, keep an eye on the first independent agentic task numbers for Kimi K3 as they start to surface. That wraps up today's AI briefing. Share this with a developer or builder who wants to stay current. Subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow, and if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at Nera Network. Links in the show notes. Quick tip from the network, try modern investing techniques next. Modern strategies for Canadian and US investors. Every Nera Network show is free at neranetwork.com. And on the website, every episode's visuals live in our free image gallery at neranetwork.com/gallery. Royalty free under Creative Commons. Download with attribution. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.